Hey, can you guys hear me? Shalom. Shalom. Gary, Landa, Alaskan Nomad, glad you're here. Gary. Oh, that's Gary again. Mentat Assassin, Brenda, Landa, Thea, Annie, Brooke, Julie, Elizabeth, K81LB, Mark, Mark, Debs, Brenda, Michael, Riley. Hey, Riley, you made it. Betty. Okay, make sure I didn't miss anybody. Brooke, all right. You guys hear me, I assume, right? I hope you're here. I hope you can hear. All right, let's say a little opening prayer. Adonai Adonenu ma'adir shimcha. Ein lanu moshiach umagen blicha Adonai. Rak ata el gibor, rak ata el nasi. Tishlach na halayla hazot et rochacha aleinu Adonai. כי אנחנו יכולים ללמוד טוב בעיניך. לכל הדברים האלה אנחנו נברכך בזכות ישוע המשיח. All right. Great! Riley's going to be here every day before school, if possible. That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. And hold on, it's not focusing right. And focus. Sometimes you got to trick the camera. And focus. You can do it. What's going on? Ah, there we go. Yes. I knew we could. All right. Tonight we're going to be doing Psalm 11. 11. Not the whole Psalm. We'll do 3 or 4 verses, right? So, which means Psalms probably isn't going to be an hour like it was before. It was an hour because I didn't want to split up the couplets on Psalm 119 before. Right, we had 8 verses that were all starting with the same letter every time, if you remember. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to break those up. Shalom, Tet. So, but now that we're at a normal psalm that's not an acrostic, right? Now we can do 3 or 4 verses, whatever gets us to somewhere between 35 and 45 minutes. I think that'll be good. Okay. Yes. Please read what Brooke is writing there. All right. So let's get started. Here we have Yod Aleph. So that makes it 11. And we start with verse Aleph. Wait a second. No. That's... What's going on? Oh! I'm not in Psalms. I'm in Zechariah. Oops. Sorry about that. How in the world did that happen? Little tired. All right, there we go. I'm like, what is it talking about? It's not sounding like a psalm. All right. There we go. All right, great. Lam natseach le David badonai. To the conductor, or for a conductor. Le David, of David, or of the genre of David. Belonging to the collection of David is what it could be implying. Not all of these psalms that say Le David necessarily means that he wrote it, right? So, all right. Badonai chasiti. Badonai. And, you know, just as some pushback for, if any of you follow that guy, Nehemiah Gordon. So here's some pushback. You know, he claims that you read the Tetragrammaton like it's written usually, right? And so I would just like to point out that, and so that the Masoretic actually pointed it the way you're supposed to say it, right? That's the actual name of God. If that's the case, why is there ah underneath the bait here? You see, if God's name is what that guy says it is, he says it's Yeho, and the second part he says is Va, right? If that's the case, then why do we have an ah here? You wouldn't have an ah. The ah is here because we pronounce the Tetragrammaton as if it's Adonai. And under the aleph, there's a chat of patach. It's a composite schwa. Boom. It's got these two little dots like that. Looks like a schwa. And then a flat line, a patach. That's the ah sound. And you would usually put a schwa underneath the bait. We talked about that yesterday, right? But you can't start with two schwas in a row. So instead of lengthening to the one dot chirik, what it does is it copies the sound of the composite schwa. And that one happens to be a ah sound. So that's why the ah is there. Okay, so just quickly debunks his whole thing about the Masoretic. They did actually write out how to write God's name, and no, it's Adonai, and that's why this is an ah. If it was Yeho Va, then it would be Ba, okay? Then it would be B, right? Because what happens with the yod in a vocal schwa, and we put the preposition in front, it lengthens to E, it would have been B, but it's ah, all right? So many other proofs like this, you can really, if you like to see the guy thoroughly debunked on every single point he's really taught about the name and stuff, there's a YouTube channel called Hebrew Gospels. These guys down in Australia, originally from South Africa, but they're down in Australia, and some decent Hebrew scholarship there. And they have like I think 11 lessons totally debunking Nehemiah Gordon, showing that they'll play the video clip from him, and then they explain why it's just bogus what he's saying. Okay, and I used to have people would ask me about him, and I just felt so burdened. Okay, so I tried to explain, and then I found these guys. Yes, so now I can just point people over there. Hours of instruction debunking Nehemiah Gordon. So you don't have to take my word for it. And what's nice, you can actually learn some grammar too. They explain the grammar as they go along, explaining why he's full of it. Okay, all right. So lam natzech la David Badonai, for a conductor or for the conductor of David. Badonai, in Adonai, chasiti. So this is the verb chasah, which is chet, samech, hey. Chasah. So it's a pei, ayin lamed. It's a lamed, hey verb, and the hey went away. So we are only, and remember, this is the pattern they follow, right? If I want to say I saw, which is also a lamed hey verb, it ends in a hey, resh aleph hey, ra'ah, he saw, I saw, ra'iti, just like this pattern here. Chasah, chasiti. Okay, but I haven't told you what the word means yet. So chasah means to take refuge. And you use a bait for what you take refuge in, which makes sense. Take refuge in the Lord, right? So, Badonai chasiti, in Adonai chasiti, I took refuge, or I take refuge. Shalom, Chona. I'm trying to resist. Dana, dana, Chona, dana, dana, Chona. And I always want to say Chona. But I know you're here in the Philippines with us. Badonai chasiti, in Adonai, I seek refuge. Eich, when, tomeru. So the root here we know it's amar. Amar usually means say, right? We've learned it as say. But there's an older meaning to this verb. Amar, in the ancient, the more old Hebrew, it means to eye, like to eye something or to eye someone, right? To watch them. And it had this meaning in Acadian, by the way, if you're curious about some of the evidence for its meaning like this. Amar. Also in Ugaritic, right? Amar, to watch, to eye, like to eye them. Like, I knew a person when I was younger. Whenever I'd walk in the room, they'd just be staring at me, watching me, whatever I did. So weird, right? I'd walk over here, they'd look. Walk over here, they'd look. This adult just be like, watching. Silently watching. So that's amar. It's like, so The tav tells you it's you or she, okay? Tomeru. Tomeru. So you all watch. You all watch. Or there is an older form, it can be they watch, even, right? So, lenafshi. Nefesh, we know nefesh. Nefesh is throat, or soul, or life force, or a human corpse, or in the laws, in the Torah, it can be a man or a woman. Like when a law applies to either sex, right? Then it can say nefesh, ki nefesh asamashu when a soul does something, right? Like so when a person does something, when we don't care if it's a man or a woman, right? It applies equally. Hey, hello, Dr. Jones. we see you've made it. So nafshi, it's the nefesh of E, right? My nefesh. And if you guys remember the pattern, like a melekh, all the nouns, the segholates that go they follow the same paradigm, right? So melekh is a king, my king malki. Nefesh is a soul, nafshi, my soul, right? Sefer is a scroll, safri, my scroll, etc., etc., etc. Gary says, we have a painting of my great-great-grandfather. The eyes follow you around the room. They're amaring you. They're amaring you. They amar you. Hold on, I got to get a drink real quick. I'm so thirsty. This one? Nope. There we go. Golly. Sorry about that. Thank you for the note. um, This is why I rarely mute the microphone. I was making some bodily sounds with my nose, and I didn't want you to hear it. So I muted, and then, this thing's used, and it's a little sticky, the mute button, and sure enough, I thought I unmuted. This is why I usually don't mute. I let you hear me drinking or whatever. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I'm missing good stuff. Okay, golly, how long ago did I mute it? Yeah, since the drink. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's good. I saw the chat moving. I'm like, what's that? Okay. I've got the chat in two different places, so it catches my eyes easier. If you're shouting at me, I'll see it. Okay. So let's go back to here. So the Masoretes pointed this as nu di. Nu di is a feminine singular imperative, and it means like wander, right? Like become lost. So he could be speaking to his soul, since the soul is feminine, right? So like wander away, right? Something like that. But then it's strange because it says harchem. So har means mountain, and chem is yalls. So what yalls? Is he talking back now to the people who are eyeing his life? You see, it's the way it's written, it's hard to make sense of it. So what the rabbis would do when you have something like this, the sages, the ancient rabbis, the real rabbis, nobody today is a real rabbi, it's been broken, and the level of scholarship and learning they had back in the day was just insanely amazing. But anyway, so it's normal to say, you'll see this all the time in the Talmud where they're parsing a verse or something, and they'll say like, al tikra, don't read such and such, but tikra such and such, read this way, where they're just changing the vowels around, right? Back then, the text didn't have vowels added, so people are much freer with how to read the text, right? Now that we have the dots in here, if you start changing the vowels, and people aren't familiar with the Jewish tradition, the Jewish way of handling the text, they might think like you're like really a leftist or something, or you don't treat the text as holy. Look, the vowels, the dots and stuff, this is our tradition. That's the Jewish tradition, okay? And yeah, all the translations are based on this, but it's our tradition. It is a tradition. It's a holy tradition, but it's still, this is how people 1,200 years ago thought you should read it. It's a snapshot in time of how they thought you should read it. And unfortunately, it's pretty good, but unfortunately, the Masoretes, a lot of times it seems that they did not understand certain ancient grammatical principles that show up in the Psalms and other ancient linguistic parts of the Bible, right? And I'm not saying that like haughtily, like, oh, those dummies or something, brilliant people. It's just we have the privilege of living in a time when cognate languages have been discovered and learned, like Acadian and Ugaritic, and this helps us a lot, that other body of literatures that are around that are in similar languages, to understand, oh, this is an old accusative ending, oh, this is an old genitive ending, things that had faded away in Torah Hebrew, for example, right? So, but you see it in the Psalms, because some of the Psalms are very old. Some of them are older than the Torah, right? Others of them, the psalmist is trying to write in an old style. Just like we do today, right? When, you have some friends and maybe you're sitting around the fire and, hey, tell us a poem about, we used to do this when I was kids, we had this friend, John Weaver. We called him Running Eagle because he's half Native American. We all bash on each other, Marcel, black guy, we picked on him, they picked on me being the Jew, we'd be in line at a movie, and Josh, a friend of mine, Josh, would drop a coin to see if I would pick it up, right? Because I'm greedy, right? You understand? So I'd play along, look around, make sure nobody's looking, pick it up. But, we're all bashing on each other. Oh, Brian was the German, right? So, so anyways, typical American guys. But anyway, I'm sorry, I got off track. Memory lane there. Anyway, we did this thing. Sometimes we do poems, right? And always, if someone had to do a poem, you make it sound old. Thine days of yore, and you're using older English, right? Because that signals poetry to people. It's not different with this. So sometimes very often the Hebrew Psalms were written in a way, in a style that was old to the people writing it then. So you got a psalm from 3,000 years ago, and and the person is writing it in a style that for him was old, was 1,000 or 2,000 years old, right? It's from before we had the Torah written, okay? So that's why. It's not like they're borrowing from Ugaritic or one of these pagan languages or something. It's just that those languages give us a snapshot and a hint into stuff that was very similar for sister languages. Oh, did I not rewind far enough? The last they heard was Linaf Shi. Oh, you're good then. Linaf Shi, that's fine. So oh gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not going to mute anymore. It's just not worth it. Or I just got to stare at it, make sure it unmuted properly. Okay, so nefesh, I went through and I told you all the things nefesh can mean, right? Nefesh, we might have to go longer tonight because of my messing up. So nefesh can mean all kinds of things, right? Soul, life force, throat, neck, corpse, a human corpse only, never used for an animal corpse. A man or a woman, when a law is about somebody that equally applies to a man or a woman to do it, they both got to do it. The text will oftentimes use nefesh, right? Sometimes it's got to do with thoughts, so that's more Jobian. But anyway, so in this case, it's probably like my life, right? Okay, I mean life, right? That's where life force goes into life, right? So, why, Tomaru, do you eye lenafshi, my life? Right? Why are you eyeing? Imagine the evil eye. Grrr, why are you doing that? Thanks for keeping me on track, guys. Very sorry that happened. Impassioned explanation, and then just figure it out. Well, that's why we're doing sign language. See? So next time, maybe I'll try to sign what I'm saying. All right. So it's normal. Okay, I was telling you guys, I think I'll mute, that all of these vowels, these little dots and stuff like this is our tradition. This was added about 1,200 years ago, right? Yeah, it's holy, but it's not as holy as the consonantal text, right? And because the Masoretes, sometimes they didn't understand the older form of the language, sometimes they get the vowels wrong, right? Or even they combine words that shouldn't be combined, right? And so it's normal rabbinical procedure to say, hey, don't read it this way, read it that way, with different vowels. Or sometimes you can move the first letter of one word, treat that's following another, make it the last letter of that one. Okay, now it makes sense, right? So that's what we're going to do here, all right? So instead of new D, like the Masoretes suggest, because it doesn't help, right? Like wander away, even if it is saying my soul. Harachem, you all's mountain. What, we're talking now to the guys who are eyeing his flesh. It's your mountain. And then it just says tzipor, a bird. Okay? So to make sense of this, my favorite Psalms commentator, Mitchell Dahood, suggests, I wish I could take credit, I wish I'd solved this myself, but he suggests that we take ha and we make it part of this verb here. Okay? And sometimes in very old texts, a wow would be silent, right? The vav would be silent. So instead, this says nidhor, okay? Which is a nifal form of daha, which is to pursue, right? Like to chase after. Now this fits. We got these guys are doing a verb to his life, okay? And now we're going to say nidhor, is pursued. So again, it's my soul. She's working over here and she's working over here. My life is pursued. And then the chem, this is actually going to be read as kemo. Kemo is an ancient word. For those of you who study Hebrew grammar and you know the inseparable prepositions, beit, lamed, kaf, right? They have to be attached to a word. Well, kemo is an ancient version that is not inseparable. It has to be separable. It stands alone. Kemo means the same thing as kaf. So this would be kamo, and it'd just be defective spelling, right? We'd have a cholim dot over there. So nidhor is pursued. What's pursued? My life is pursued. Kemo, like tzipor, a bird, and Dahood unlocks it beautifully. So Brenda says, so you correct orally or in your head, but allowed to be read as written? Yes. Yeah. Although some of the things, okay, when the Masoretes make an absolute correction like they did here with nudi, you're supposed to read it nudi, right? So you come across this, you don't say nudu, right? You say nudi. Although interesting, nudu could fix things a little bit. If we read it like it's written, nudu would mean like, y'all go away. Ha'achem, to your mountain. But then, tzipor, bird, okay, that's still kind of out, right? Unless tzipor is part of the next verse. No, it won't work. Okay, so I think Dahood's suggestion is the best. If not, then maybe you go with the ketiv, the written form. Yeah. Me, are you asking about me when I'm reading the Psalms? So when I'm reading them myself, I will say it the way that it's written. But yeah, in my head, I'll think about the possible, Ugaritic implement, the ones that I remember, right? Or that I can see jumping off the page right away. Yeah. I have a special way of marking it in my Bible software. I have like a whole bunch of like annotations I've invented that mean certain things or whatever. And the reason is so I don't have to read like a bunch of notes when I wanted to just pray the psalm, right? And so with those things, I'll be going through and I'll see like an Ugaritic font over something. That's to remind me, think about the Ugaritic definition instead, right? Or I'll see like an Acadian or a Phoenician. I got something in Phoenician just behind the word, right? It just says Phoenician, right? Behind the word. And then in Phoenician, right? And then that'll remind me, oh, okay, go with that meaning, right? Or I have like two fingers like this. That means, oh, don't forget, this could be a double duty suffix, right? So I've kind of crafted my own annotation around Psalms in my software so that if I want to go through just on my own or just kind of impromptu preach on it or something like that, it will remind me of some of those deeper meanings. Most of the time I don't need it anymore. I really did, a couple years ago, but now it's kind of been ingrained, right? You go through it enough and you kind of get used to seeing these patterns and stuff. So, but there are definitely some notes like this is a Canaanite word or whatever, and it's nice I can just look at my note and see, okay, what's that about? Yeah. Hey, shalom, servant of Hashem. All right. All right, so we finally got verse 1 worked out. I'm not muting the microphone. I need a drink, but I'll just let you hear me slurp. Where'd my drink go? Okay. Verse bait 2. Ki hine hareshaim yid'rekhun keshet konenu chitzam al yeter. Oops, I read that the ancient way. Yeter instead of th. Okay. Ki is for, like F-O-R, for. Hine, behold, or look. Okay, so now he's amplifying what he said in the first verse. Ha, the reshaim, the wicked ones, the wicked people. Yid'rekhun. Okay, this is a little difficult. The root you probably recognize. You know the noun derech. Derech, right? Derech? What's derech? I'm sorry, derech is away. I did the wrong sign, though. Derech is away, right? Away or a road. Derech. Darach, the verb darach, from the same root, means to tread, right? Like you're walking around with boots. You're treading on stuff, right? Sometimes to march. But in this case, the subject is going to give us an idea. What are they treading on? Keshet. Keshet is a bow, right? Like a bow and arrow. Yeah, good. Christian got the road. Yep, good. And Brenda also. Way or path. Very good. I know because of the delay, you got it before I said it. So, good. Good. So, to darach, to tread on a keshet, on a bow, means you put your foot on it. You're stringing the bow, right? You're stringing the bow. Okay? So, this says the wicked people are doing this, right? The yod tells you it's third person, and the u tells you it's they. Yid'rekhun means they are treading or they are stringing the bow, the keshet. And then there's a noon here. What's that noon? Un. Yid'rekhun. He doesn't need the noon. The psalmist could just say, Harshayim yid'rekhun keshet. Okay? What's that noon do? This is what we call the paragogic noon. It's like a little exclamation point. Not all scholars agree about it being an exclamation point, by the way. But I believe it is. So, and from reading the literature and stuff, I think they're right, those who think it is. So we have this is making it stronger. They are treading. They're readying keshet, the bow. Konenu. Making ready. I shouldn't have said readying, because the next word really does make ready. They are stringing the bow. Konenu. They are making ready. Chitzam. Am means their chetz, their arrow. It's usually chetz. It becomes chitzam, their arrow. They're making ready the arrow. Dr. Jones says, Acadian Hebrew Comparative Etymology. Author, Chaim Tamil. Oh, very cool. Nice, nice, nice. That's a nice title. Good name, too. Chaim. He's alive. Okay. Al. Okay, they're making ready their arrow. Al, upon. Yeter. Yeter is the bowstring, the string. It's also, okay, actually, it's any kind of taut string, like a tight string, okay? So like tent strings, it's also called a yeter, right? Also yeter. Not to be confused with one of Moses' fathers-in-law, Jethro, right? Jethro, it's also the same word, but there it means like excess or the cream of the cream, right? Like the best, or like excellent. He's excellent, right? So Jethro is his excellence, right? So written the same, but different meanings. Do you have that book, by the way, Dr. Jones? Or, yeah, I'd like to check that out. That's a great title. Knocking there. All right, Gary. You know, I was thinking of you when I kept saying that. I'm like, man, I forgot again. I'm too embarrassed to ask. I forgot again what it's called. No, I'm not really that embarrassed, but thanks for mentioning it. You came to my rescue anyway. Yeah, so that's better. So, yid'rekhun keshet. They are, okay, so they're stringing the bow. They're knocking their arrow on the string. Good. Lirot. Okay. This is the verb yara. Yod. Not to be fearful. This is yod resh hey. It's a lamed hey verb. Those verbs that end in hey, if you want to make it into an infinitive, to do whatever, right? So ra'ah is to see. Lirot. Pardon me, Ra'ah is he saw. Lirot is to see. Okay? Paneh or panah is he turned. Lifnot is to turn. Okay? So in this case, yara means to shoot. And this is where we get the word Torah from. Torah. Right? Torah. Torah is a teaching, so yara in the Hebrew means to teach, right? So that's why Torah comes from it. But the idea is you take your shot, yara, but you may miss. You may chata, which is interpreted as sin, right? But if you took the shot, it's then accidental sin. It's not intentional sin, right? Oh, great. Very thorough. Thank you for that. Nice, nice. Yakar says to target. No, I don't think so. Probably, there'd probably be some back formation from mitar. Mitar is a target, so maybe make a verb from that. But I haven't seen that used in that way. But that would probably be to target. Good guess, though. Good guess. Good thought. Okay. Lirot, to shoot. Bemo ofel, le'yishrei lev. From, okay, so bemo is just like we formed up here, kemo, right? So the three inseparable prepositions, they can also stand alone. Kemo, lamo, bemo, in these older forms we find in poetry, right? So bemo could mean in it, right? Or just in. Or we learned from Ugaritic, this can also mean from. So it could be from Ophel. Ophel is like gloominess, like a place of ambush, right? Like they're from darkness. It's a poetic way of saying from darkness, right? So they're going to take their shot. They're not even showing themselves. They're taking their shot. And I think probably the psalmist is alluding to lashon hara, to wicked speech, right? Because what do bad people do who are your enemies? They wait till you're not around to talk badly about you, right? They're not just going to say it to your face. They're going to say it behind your back, right? You know, not saying that saying it to the face is always great either, right? I mean, there's some stuff where people have no couth and they just, hey, you're bad like this. You and then won't even hear you out. I mean, that's different. But I think this might be metaphorical for wicked speech, but who knows? Who knows? Could be wrong. From gloominess, from ambush-like areas. To Yishrei Lev. So Yashar is the root here. Yashar is straight, right? We had this as one of the Hebrew words of the day, right? Yashar, straight. Okay? Also, you can interpret it as upright, right? Like the proper way, right? The straight path, right? We have a collection, a midrash called the Sefer HaYashar, the book of the just, right? The book of the upright, something like that, right? And you've probably seen this in the Bible, even in English. Have you not read all these things? Are they not written in the book of Jasher? You know, that's what it is. It's Yasher. But But I don't, personally, I don't think that the Sefer HaYashar that we have today, I think it's just named after that. I don't think it's from that. Because the Hebrew is very late, that's in it. Unless they just were updating it or something. Still worth a read, really. So, Le Yishrei, this is Yesharim. Yesharim are upright ones, drop the mem. Yishrei, upright ones of, right? Lave. Lave. We've had lave. Lave. Heart, right? The upright of heart. And most of the time in biblical Hebrew, lave or levav, heart, means mind. So just take that in note when you're translating, when you're interpreting. It does say heart, but heart has certain connotations in English that is not intended often in the Hebrew, right? So oftentimes we associate emotions with the heart, right? I mean, Valentine's Day, there's hearts everywhere, right? Okay. If they had Valentine's Day in the Bible, there'd be like kidney shapes all over the place. Like kidneys. Oh, someone gives you a card, it's got kidneys on it, Maybe a liver. Sometimes liver, right, is also for sad emotions or whatever. I guess if your heart is broken, your liver would be broken, Like, we also find in Ugaritic, their goddess will be like weeping from her liver and this kind of stuff, right? So. Yeah, Brenda likes it. So, happy Valentine's Day. Here's pictures of the kidneys. My kidneys are yours. I give you my kidneys. All right. Where were we? Verse Gimel, verse 3. Well, 36. Okay, this will probably be the last one tonight, last verse tonight. Really sorry about the technical mistake I made earlier. Ki hashatot yeharesun tzadik ma pa'al. But it says, I thought the liver was associated with anger. Well, negative emotions. Negative emotions. Yeah. Jealousy, right? Jealousy. Hey, shalom, Dr. Vera. Okay. Ki, for hashatot. So, this is from the word shet, which we learned from Ugaritic, means a foundation. So, shatot are foundations. Hashatot, the foundations. Yeharesun. Okay. Haras is to tear down. Now, this should be an easy word for you to remember. Like, stop harassing me. Stop tearing down everything I'm doing, right? Or you could imagine someone's harassing you and they're tearing you down, like pulling you down. You're a big statue. They're pulling off your nose or whatever way you can remember it. So to haras is to tear down, to tear down. Very often used of like when you tearing down idols or tearing down other people's buildings that they built, things that have been built usually, right? We don't usually do this on a person, right? To harass a person doesn't really make sense. Okay. Now, you see the tzere here? This tells you this is a passive verb. Okay? So the yod and the u means they. And then the nun, that's again probably making it stronger, right? Our paragogic nun. But it means it's passive. So hashatot, the foundations, nifal. In ancient Hebrew, you might have expected yin here. But instead, the nun, he tried to go into the hey, can't do it. Hey doesn't take a dagesh. So it comes down, lengthens the I into an A. 2 dots instead of 1, okay? Dr. Jones says Elohim is mentioned 32 times in Genesis 1. Same gematria as Lamed Bet. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Lamed Bet, he's saying is lave, right? Heart, or mind. The gematria. The gematria, in case you don't know, every letter in Hebrew has a numerical value. And the Jewish hermeneutic is there's an acronym to remind you of the proper way to approach scripture with Jewish eyes. It's pardes. The pei is the pashat. That's just like the plain meaning that the verse says, right? And the pashat is usually the most important, all right? The Chofetz Chaim says that you can, in his book, Hishkiot Levav, Meditations of the Heart, you cannot, no one will be judged for keeping the pashat meaning of the Torah, right? So you're safe with pashat, okay? But, so that's like the plain. And then there's a pardes. Reish is remez, it's like a hint. There's a hint. And that's usually about as deep as I go. I guess I'm not a very deep guy. I usually don't go below remez, personally, Usually there's just so much there anyway, right? But if you keep digging deeper, seeing what secrets are locked down in there, you go to the darash, right? Like when we give a sermon, it's called a darash. It's from diresh, which is to seek, to search for, right? You're looking for something. And then the lowest level in pardes is sod, which is like secret. Although it can also mean counsel, right? But the secret level. And that's usually where gematria lives, where you look at the value of a letter, and then you can combine values, and that equals the number of something else. And that's what Dr. Jones just did here. He was showing us that Elohim, the 32 times, 32 is the gematria value of lev, of heart, right? Because lamed is 30 and beit is 2, 32. So that's one of the gematria tricks that can be interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Dr. DeVere says, is that an emphatic noon? Yes. Yes. In my opinion, yes. A paragogic noon. Landa says, I wonder if there is a connection between liver kidney problems and a broken heart spirit. Oh, interesting. Maybe that's why the ancients had that, use that idiom, right? It could be. Could be. I have to get a drink. Sorry, guys. All right, great. Thanks, Doc. Okay. Ki hashatot yeharesun. For the foundations, they are being broken. They're being torn down. Tzadik mapa'al. So there's different ways to interpret this. Let's just do high-level pashat. Tzadik, we had this as a Hebrew word of the day, right? Was it just yesterday or 2 days ago? Tzadik. Oh no, a few days, maybe 3 days ago. So tzaddik is a righteous person, or a just person, or the person who's like correct in a lawsuit. He could be evil, but he's winning the lawsuit. He's the tzaddik, you see? In that case, the rasha, which wicked doesn't mean wicked. He could be a righteous person, but he lost the lawsuit. He made a mistake. He was wrong, right? So really, context depends on that. But tzaddik can also be a divine epithet, the righteous one. The righteous one, what? Pa'al. What has he done? Or what is he doing? It kind of feels in this psalm like the perfect has been dissolved. And the psalmist is using perfects to say like what we would feel is present tense, right? So like Badonai chasiti, in Adonai, I seek refuge. I think that to me, that feels fine here, instead of saying, I sought refuge. He's not just telling a history. It feels like it's alive now. He's pleading, right, with the situation. It's nuts. He doesn't understand. Why is it happening like this, right? So I think it's fine for us to say, Yeharisun. And also, look. Oh, yeah. Also, look, we have an imperfect. Yeharisun. They are tearing down, right? So then, you got the imperfect here. Now we got the perfect. I think it's okay to put in present tense. Although there are times when the imperfect is used for a past in poetry, using kind of very old understanding, but I don't want to go that direction right now. Okay? The tzaddik, the righteous one, the just one, ma pa'al, what is he doing? Now, of course, to see how the psalmist resolves that, we'll have to check next week. We're at 43 minutes. I think that's pretty good. Brooke says, yes, spiritual problems can be revealed in physical manifestation. That makes sense. I mean, you have emotional issues that can make you sick, right? Isn't that psychosomatic disorders? Like psyche, that's the Greek for nefesh. Nefesh is a mapping from to suke or psyche, depending how you want to say it. And then soma is a living body, right? Like somatos, right? So psychosomatic, because of your psyche, you're sick. So if your mind can do that, kal vachomer, light and heavy, how much more so a spiritual issue? Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. Yeah, Brooke really liked that, by the way. So thank you for your comment there, Landa, about the look. She used 4 exclamation marks. I never get 4 exclamation points from Brooke. So well done, Landa. Well done, Landa. You got 4 of them. Very good. Alaskan Nomad says very interesting. All right, good. That's Carrie, right? Yeah, I'm glad you found it interesting. Are you still in Alaska? Christian says, envy is rottenness to the bones. True. Brooke says, I practice medicine. I see it all the time. Well, practice makes perfect. So that's sorry. I'm feeling a little goofy right now. Yeah, that's great. Dr. DeVere, what do you think? I think we got a couple physicians in here right now. the spiritual manifestations messing things up. Three actually. Lovely. So, do you ever have to treat people for a broken kidney when their loved one leaves them? Oh, you got a broken kidney? You got broken kidneys? Kelotecha, your kidneys? Landa says, I've often seen the connection such as unforgiveness and bitterness. That's true. Yeah. Good point. Good chats today. I really appreciate it, guys. And, yeah, doctors are in the house. So true. Hey, if anybody's sick, now's the time to ask. Get some free medical advice over in the chat. But asterisk, these are the opinions of the doctors that are in our chat and not of Hebrew literacy. Oh, Tammy, okay. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking you were a different Alaskan. Sorry about that, Tammy. She's in Tennessee now. All right. All right. Shalom, shalom, Gary. I know you got to get to work. Yep. Let's shut it down. We're 46 minutes. You guys have been great. I really apologize for not unmuting the button before. Thank you for letting me know. And just a reminder, as always, if you'd like to join us in the chat. I can't type. What is going on? Well, maybe Hashem doesn't want me to type it. Okay, fine. It's t.me/Hebrew literacy. You can meet us over there. And if you'd like to support our ministry, you can do so at paypal.me, like me. If you do .com, it won't work. paypal.me/Hebrew literacy. Or you can become a monthly supporter over on Patreon, patreon.com/Hebrew literacy. Sorry for those of you who signed up on the YouTube channel. We're having some issue with the account right now. So you're not being charged, okay? Those of you who signed up as members, you joined as members, but you might want to consider maybe going over to Patreon or something. You know, we can always, if you got double charged in the future, I can always refund you or something too. So I think I can. I at least could do it on Patreon. You're very welcome. Shalom, shalom. Be well, guys.